Hey, thanks for joining us again today over here at Wild Bill's Hobby Town in Dallas, Texas. Today we're going to talk about using a standard 4-button charger for charging lithium or nickel metal hydride batteries. A lot of the problems that we see our customers having are just charger related, and it's because, frankly, the instructions a lot of times don't explain properly how to charge a battery. Now, the first thing you got to know is what kind of battery you're testing. So what we have here is a 5,000 milliamp lithium battery pack. It's a 2-cell battery pack, 7.4 volts. It's always safe to charge a battery at a 1C charge rate. What's 1C? Well, it's just a way of determining. Now we're going to cut this part out of it. What's 1C? Well, the easiest way to determine what 1C would be to move the decimal place behind the first number. So in this instance, we have a 5,000 milliamp battery. We move a decimal point, it's a 5. Right? So we're going to charge this one at a 1C charge rate, which would be 5 amps. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and plug the battery into the charger. What I'm using today is the new Venom Pro all-in-one charging port. And what this one does, it combines the balance tap with various different connectors that are standard within our industry. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in. This is a Dean's. I'm going to plug in our Dean's here. And I'm going to plug the balance tap in here. You should always, always, always balance your lithium batteries. It improves their life and it improves their performance. We're going to set that over here. Then we're going to take our charger. I'm using a UP100 from Ultra Power. This is our most popular charger. It does everything you need a battery charger to do, but without a whole lot of extra frills to get in the way. So pressing the arrow buttons or the plus minus buttons, depending on what's on your charger, you're going to cycle through until you get to your battery chemistry. This one's a lipo. Select that. This one's set up for a 5 amp charge, which is correct, but it's set up for an 11.1 volt or 3S battery, so we need to change that. So we hit the start button here. It starts flashing. So then we're going to hit the start button again. Now it's flashing on the cell count. So we're going to reduce that to 2S. We'll hit the enter button again. That's going to lock the screen. Then you go ahead, you notice we've selected LiPo balance. I should have mentioned this earlier, but we can cycle through that to LiPo charge, LiPo fast charge, LiPo storage, and LiPo discharge. Not all chargers have a discharge feature. This one does. So we're going to cycle through to LiPo balance. We can ignore the charge and fast charge. They're really not a recommended way of charging your batteries. I guess if there's some kind of crisis, you can use them. Can't imagine a crisis with radio controlled cars. So we're on LiPo balance now. We've got it set up to 5 amp charge rate, which is a 1C charge rate for this battery, and 7.4 volt, which matches our cell count. Then you press and hold the start button. It tests the battery. The battery's okay. Then you click it one more time, and the battery starts charging. So here we are charging the battery, and we'd like to know the state of the cells. So we hit the enter button one time, and then we hit the plus button. And that's going to show us our individual cell voltage. So right now I'm at 3.82 volts on one cell, 3.81 on the other. Ideally, those cells are going to be in an equal voltage. That's why we're balancing the battery, to keep those cells at an equal voltage. A fully charged lithium battery is 4.2 volts per cell. A storage charge is considered to be about 3.8, 3.9 volts per cell, and that's the best voltage to keep your batteries at if you're going to let them sit for an extended period of time. You don't want to leave a battery at full charge because over time it will reduce its capacity. And you don't want to leave it at a very low state of charge because, again, over time the battery will self-discharge slightly, and a lithium battery can be ruined by undercharge. So If you don't want to look at the cell voltage screen, you hit the enter button again. And that puts you back on the main charging screen. So that's how you balance charge a LiPo battery. Now, not everybody uses LiPo batteries. We go ahead and turn this off. Some people use a nickel metal hydride battery still. And in a lot of applications, that is the correct battery to use, where you'd be using a slower car for children, for example. So, what we have here is a Gens Ace 5000 milliamp nickel metal hydride battery. This is a common replacement battery for your Traxxas vehicles, for example. So we're going to go ahead and plug that back into the balance board here, like so. Then we're going to go ahead and put the charger into nickel metal hydride mode by pressing stop until we get to the screen, the program select screen. Then we can just cycle through. To nickel metal hydride. We hit the start button. We have nickel metal hydride charge. We have auto charge, discharge, repeat. I don't know what that says. Oh, this is a nickel metal hydride cycle. A lot of times nickel metal hydride and NiCad batteries need a few cycles, especially after storage, to get them back up to full capacity. So here we are on our charge screen. We're going to hit the start button. We're going to raise this to a 1C charge rate, 5 amps. And again, you press and hold the start button. And because it doesn't have to test the battery to make sure that it's acceptable, it's going to go ahead and just start charging. Now, when we're talking about your batteries and your battery storage, a lot of people will store their batteries in a battery storage pad. That's a great idea. I store my batteries in an old ammo case. I figure if it's good enough to store ammunition, it's good enough to store my LiPo batteries. You never want to store your batteries in a garage, especially with the hot Texas heat. Some garages can get well above 140 degrees, which will damage or destroy your lithium batteries. In some instances, could cause a fire. You probably don't want to store your batteries around a bunch of oily rags, for example. But if you store your batteries at room temperature, they should be adequately stored and not give you any kind of problems. You never, ever, ever want to leave your battery plugged into your car or your charger unless you're charging or driving. As soon as you're done playing with your car, unplug the battery. Leaving the batteries plugged in can cause them to over discharge because a lot of the speed controls have what's called parasitic draw. The switches are an electronic switch, not a mechanical disconnect. The vast majority of batteries that we see in here that have been damaged or destroyed are damaged or destroyed by heat, physical damage, or over discharging. So if you avoid the heat, avoid physically damaging your battery, really hard crash could destroy your battery. Avoid physically damaging your batteries, and of course, always avoid over discharging. When your vehicle slows down with a lithium battery, the fun time is gone. Don't try and nurse out a couple more seconds. Bring the car in, unplug the battery, either charge your battery or put in a fresh pack. That's really about it for using the 4-button interface charger. There are more powerful chargers on the market than the UP100, of course. We could get into those chargers later if y'all would like to. Again, thank you for joining us out here today at Wild Bill's Hobby Town. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.